Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Mind Muscle Connection podcast. Today is a solo episode, and I have a topic that I want to dive into that I think will be super interesting and somewhat eye-opening for some people. But first, before I do that, if you are interested in a body recomp, what it is, how to do it, 10 things you need for body recomp, I also dive into two different types of body recomp, which I am going to touch on here in a minute. Why it's important to focus on body composition, then this free checklist is for you. Again, the link to that is in the show notes. So for today's topic, the title is going to be Don't Pick Your Next Body Comp Phase Based on How You Look in the Mirror or Your Scale Weight. We need to pick it based on where you're at, where you are, what your body needs, and what you can actually execute. And that's not always going to be based just on your current look right at the moment, right? So again, most people are going to choose their next phase based on emotion. It's usually, hey, I feel soft, I need to go cut. I've gained some weight, now I need a diet. I'm not shredded, something must be wrong. But these emotional based decisions often lead to you spinning your wheels, right? So if you're not considering your current body comp, your recent methods, and your recovery capacity, what you can handle, you're just guessing. You're going to eventually spin your wheels. And again, this is the difference between just doing more and actually getting results that last, right? A lot of people are in that just doing more mindset of, oh, not losing body fat, need to cut my calories more. I need to do more training. I need to do, right? It's just always in this do more. And that's not always the case. So what I want to talk about today is I break down exactly how I coach clients through the decision to start a fat loss recomp phase or a building recomp phase and why your starting point matters more than you think here. So again, our body comp strategy should be intentional, right? It should not be emotional in emotional process of, hey, I just looked in the mirror today. All right, you know what? I don't look good. Time to cut. Hey, I gained 2 pounds recently. Time to cut. Like again, these are emotional based decisions that are going to lead to you spinning your wheels. Or anytime you see scale weight bump up a little bit, hey, I need to decrease my calories. Again, this is going to be a fast track to you spinning your wheels long term. So your current body composition plus recent methods should guide your next move and in the recovery capacity as well too. So we need to also consider your lifestyle and what you have going on. Because sometimes, for example, a deficit may be needed for some people, but during certain periods of time, because it is a stressor on the body to lose body fat, to be in an energy deficit, it could end up being a positive one, but it is a stressor on the body. We need to account for everything else that we have going on. If you're someone who's getting ready for some sort of performance-based event and it's coming up soon, like a marathon, something like half marathon, that's probably not the best time to really try to restrict calories, right? Maybe you have a super stressful time coming up. Hey, you just had a child. Okay, you have a lot of stress on your body. We need to make sure that we're not trying to fat loss diet. Obviously, women, if they're breastfeeding, like your energy expenditure is going to be through the roof and you may just lose weight because of that. But we're not doing an intentional deficit, essentially, right? We're tracking our calories and trying to drop weight. Guys, if you just had a baby, right, you obviously don't have to worry about the increased energy expenditure, but that's a super stressful time on your body. That's probably not the best time to try to fat loss diet. We probably want to hold off on that. You have some other super stressful job change, things like that. We want to push ourselves and we want to get uncomfortable, but we have to be intentional with what we're doing, right? But then we also need to look at our recent methods. Are you someone who has recently pushed deficit for the past 3 to 6 months, or you at least tried, but either way, you just recently lost a lot of weight? Like, just because you still have more weight to lose doesn't necessarily mean that this is the right time for you to jump into a fat loss phase right away, right? Like you might need a little bit more time away. And this is another big mistake I see people make that are in this situation is they lose a lot of weight and they just keep going until they get to their goal weight without taking any breaks. And that's where you get people that rebound and go up and down long term. So a couple things to consider here. So if you're already lean, and let's say, what does that mean? Just again, already lean being, let's say you're under 20 to 22% for women, under 10 to 12% for men. That's what we're talking about there. Or you've been fat loss dieting for more than 3 to 6 months recently. Pushing a calorie deficit could backfire, right? Even though you want to get leaner and whatnot, you want to get leaner. Maybe you recently fat loss dieted for the last 3 to 6 months. You saw 5 pounds come back on. Again, trying to push a calorie deficit at this standpoint could backfire. One, you'll struggle to build muscle and you'll risk burning out recovery because again, our body is in this recovery debt. And if you're already lean, that is a stressor on the body. And again, you're going to impact muscle building in that process. So for you, you probably don't want to continue to push a fat loss diet. Again, if you recently dieted for more than 3 to 6 months and let's say it was a month ago and it's like, hey, I still want to keep going down, we would have to look at your biofeedback and make sure you're in a good spot to get back into a deficit. But if you don't worry about that and you just try to get into a deficit, that's where things could potentially backfire, right? In this situation, you need a building phase. And when I say building phase, I'm not just saying you need to be in a surplus. We just need to be at maintenance, because I have talked about how basically there's two phases that we'll be in from a recomp perspective. There's fat loss recomp and then there's building recomp. And fat loss recomp, we're obviously trying to do fat, like we're trying to drop body weight. That's going to be in a calorie deficit. And we're going to make sure that we're in the best position to drop body fat. A building phase is essentially any time out of a fat loss phase where we have multiple goals of a building phase. It could be to improve habits. It could be to add muscle. It could be to optimize your metabolism, whatever your goal is for that phase. Again, it doesn't have to be a building phase of, hey, we're going to gain a bunch of weight to bulk or to build muscle, right? That could be part of it, but it doesn't always necessarily have to be. And I'll talk to you here in a minute about what could impact that. And so remember that if this is you're already on the leaner side and you fat loss dieted for more than 3 to 6 months recently, and you want to push a fat loss phase, again, we need to make sure you're in a good spot. But this is where you'll likely need a building phase, right? Not to just add size, but to optimize your inputs, your metabolism, improve your training quality, and to support performance, right? And again, remember, this can be done at maintenance and not just a surplus. So you can see here where if just base it off of your weight coming up a little bit, or you want to continue to get leaner, if we're not considering your current body composition and we're not considering where you've been at recently, we could potentially shoot ourselves in the foot. And so this is where you can see where an emotional decision can impact that. We need to be intentional and strategic with what we do. But let's take the flip side. You're carrying higher body fat. Skipping a fat loss phase may keep you stuck with poor energy, insulin resistance, and just a lower training output, right? Because we're carrying higher body fat, which, is probably going to impact our conditioning and what we can recover from, how much we can do from that perspective. And so because of this, you would likely need a structured deficit with the right setup, right? After a short time at maintenance, dialing in your inputs, plus whatever your biggest limiting factor is. So what that means is if you are carrying higher body fat, this isn't the time to get into a building phase, right? You probably need to get into a structured deficit to drop some body fat, right? However, we do want to have a period of time where we are dialing in your inputs to make sure those are there, and that makes a deficit much, much easier. So I think in this situation, let's understand that being at maintenance calories and dialing in your inputs and improving your biggest limiting factors, whatever those are, that's never a bad place to be. But just understand that when we carry higher amounts of body fat from an overall health perspective, this could be impacting us. So at some point, to improve our overall health and to improve our body composition, we would have to get into a energy deficit at some point to get you to there. Let's say you're in the gray zone, right? You're not lean, you're not high body fat either. Either approach can work, but your recent methods, biofeedback and stress load and goals should dictate the call there. So let's say you're in the middle zone and I'm not super lean, but I also don't have a lot of body fat. The cool thing here is we have a lot of options that we can do. What we're going to do here now is we're going to base this off of what you've done recently. So if you're someone who's recently gained a little bit of weight, 5 to 10 pounds or so, maybe a little bit more, but you still don't have a lot of body fat, but you're also not lean, then our approach may lean towards a deficit at that point. Let's say 2 to 3 months ago, you just lost 10 to 20 pounds, but you're not like super lean, but you also don't have a lot of body fat, then we may have you be in a building phase for a little bit of time, right? But we could still do a deficit as well too, if you're in a good spot, right? That's where we look at your biofeedback. But we also have to consider the current stress load on your body. The higher it is, the more likely that we would need to, one, figure out, can we lower that? But then also, it's likely you're going to likely need to be at maintenance versus a deficit there. And then again, your goals. What are your ultimate goals? Do you want to be someone that's a bit leaner? Do you just want to feel good? Or are you someone who wants to have a lot more muscle? And again, maybe there's everything in between, and some of these goals are overlapping as well too, right? Obviously, people don't want to have muscle and not feel good. But again, what are your main goals? And that's going to determine where we're at. If you're someone who's a little bit more focused on adding muscle and you want to perform well, but you're in this kind of gray zone, then maybe for you, a building phase at maintenance, or maybe again, the higher our body fat is, the less likely we're going to use a surplus. But maybe for you, the goal is to get you into a building phase to work on those things because those are bigger. But maybe you're someone who just, hey, I would like to be I want to be on the leaner side. I want to be leaner. Then we may opt to push for fat loss, but we have to consider your recent methods, your biofeedback, and stress load as well too. So all these things play a factor. And again, this is what's going to separate smart phase-based coaching from what most people do, right? Most plans are only going to look at your scale weight and be like, hey, my weight's here. This is what I want to do. I want to lose weight or whatever it may be. But we need to look into all these things. I want to look at your current body composition. Okay. I want to see where that's at, because that's going to be a huge factor in which direction we go in terms of where that's currently at, right? There's all this talk about you can't build muscle in deficit. You shouldn't be in a surplus. You need to be in a surplus, all these things. But to me, the biggest deciding factor is going to be where your current body composition is at, because that's going to tell us what your body's going to respond to. Because again, from a physiological standpoint, body fat, where your body fat percentage is at is going to determine what happens. Again, someone who's For men, let's say they're 15 to 20% body fat or higher, and it's like, oh, hey, you need a calorie surplus to build muscle. Then that person does that, and now they just gain extra body fat. It's like they don't need to be in a calorie surplus to build muscle. They have enough energy reserves on their body to where they can be around maintenance and build muscle, or maybe they need to get leaner. And this is especially true if you're someone who's over 20% body fat for men. Women, same thing. Women just already have higher levels of body fat because they need to have essential levels of body fat. The distribution of that actually favor like where women store body fat, again, more subcutaneous, it's going to be better from a metabolic health standpoint. So there is that, right? Whereas men, as they get higher and higher levels of body fat, their body tends to store more in visceral fat, which is obviously not the metabolically healthy body fat. So there is a little bit of a difference there. So we need to understand that. But because women have higher levels of body fat, I just feel like a calorie surplus for women is much lower, right? Because we're considering your body composition and what that means, right? Higher levels of body fat means you have more stored energy on your body. So why would we give you more when that's already there? That's the best way I can describe that and explain why that would be. But there's definitely going to be women that are super lean, right? They're going to be under 20 to 22% body fat. For them, they might need a calorie surplus because they are a little bit lower. And again, remember, it's not going to be 1-to-1. You said for men over 20, to me, that's not what, like, it is a little bit different from that perspective. And again, it comes down to like how men and women store body fat a little bit differently there. So hopefully that makes sense. That's where we're looking at your body comp. But again, if somebody wants to build muscle and they're super lean, hey, we need to build some body, like we need to gain some body fat. Like we need you to be in a calorie surplus. You're not going to gain any noticeable amount of muscle if you're super lean there. So same thing, if you're already super lean, it's okay. If you're super lean and you want to get leaner, we have to understand the potential trade-offs of getting leaner. You're not going to feel great. Overall health, blood markers may actually decrease if you continue to get leaner. And obviously from a muscle building standpoint, you risk losing lean body mass and you're definitely not going to build any. So again, current body composition is huge, but then we also need to look at biofeedback. How are you feeling? Are you having gut issues? If that's the case, we need to look into that. We need to work on that before we really focus on any sort of phase-based nutrition. Are energy levels low, or is libido low, or hunger? These are all things we need to look at from that perspective, right? To make sure you're in a good spot. And that's going to determine where we go. Overall stress load on your body. Again, the higher the stress load is on your body currently, the closer you're going to have to be to maintenance calories, no matter what. Now, in saying there is a situation where if somebody's super lean, that is a stressor on the body. Being super lean, that's a low energy state. In order to stay lean, like you have to have a certain caloric amount, and then you also don't have as much stored energy on your body, so your body's going to sense a stressor because of that, right? It's an energy stressor. So for you, gaining some weight is going to be what we would need to do in that situation, right? To bring your overall stress load down. So some of these do play a role. And then on the flip side, you take somebody who has higher levels of body fat, that is a stressor on the body. So for them, a calorie deficit could be one that lowers the stress load. Now, on top of that, we would still want to, and this is why your inputs are super important. In that process, we'd want to be working on sleep and circadian rhythm health. We want to be working on psychological stress and other just stressors on the body. We want to make sure you're getting in high quality diet and not just eating low calories to lose weight. So again, it's the overall stress level on the body is somewhat dependent on your current body composition as well too. And then we have to look at recent methods. So what you've done recently is going to be huge in terms of did you have a high training output phase recently? Did you have a large calorie deficit recently? Did you have a surplus recently? These are all things we need to look at. Your training, like how important is training quality and what is your training quality? We want to look at that, your life demands, and what your goals. And then from there, we match the strategy to what you're ready for. Because again, it's not about just doing more. It's about doing the right thing at the right time for your body. That's the key thing that a lot of people miss, and people talk over each other yeah, this could work for somebody at some point in time, but that may not work at that point. So we have to do the right thing at the right time. And again, at the end of the day, as a safety net, everyone would benefit from some time at their maintenance calories. Again, I still call this a building phase. And in that process of being at maintenance calories, focusing on improving your inputs. This is going to set you up for more effective body comp change long term. So that's a big takeaway here too, is like at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with seeing your weight maintained and working on good inputs, resistance training, doing some conditioning, getting good sleep, good circadian health, managing overall stress on your body, eating a high quality diet. If you do those things, you're going to be like, there's going to be some positive things that are going on, even if you don't notice that physique change like week over week. So if your body comp feels stuck, it's probably not the intensity at which you're doing things. It's the direction that you're going. It's the current phase. You're not doing the right thing at the right time for where your body is currently at right now. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense. Again, if you download the free body recomp checklist, this will help you a little bit with that and what those inputs are that we need. So definitely check that out. But again, I think the big takeaway is we can't just base our next phase based on how you're feeling right now and where you want to be at tomorrow, right? Like we have to see where your body's at, because when we work with your body and we work with your physiology, that's where you see results. That's where you see the long-term results. And sometimes the current thing that we need to work on isn't necessarily your long-term goal, right? So again, you take someone who wants to continue to get leaner, you can't just diet your way all the way down. You have to take some time taking a break from that. And so it's like in that moment, not fat loss dieting seems counterintuitive because that's what you want to do. But again, long term, that's going to be what helps you actually get there and stay there. Because again, people can get there and they can do it all in one shot, but that's where they usually see these rebounds because of it was like a forceful, just grind your way to that point. And then you get there and then now what? Shit, I don't feel good. I'm hungry. Boom, it's over. So again, hopefully that was helpful. If you guys have any questions on this or you need help figuring it out for yourself, reach out to me on Instagram, Jeff HOEHN _ and just shoot me a message. Say, hey, I listened to this. I'm just curious there. And then lastly, if you found this podcast to be helpful in any way, if you could leave a rating or in review, that'll help more people find it. That's it for this episode. I'll chat with you guys next time.